The HOA said my floating cabin was an environmental hazard, so I bought the lake and named it after my dog. They wanted silence and compliance. I gave them loudspeakers, legal filings, and a live stream called Float This. They called the cops. I hit Go Live. Where are you watching from? Because this 100% real story is about to blow your mind. I built that boat with my own hands, 3 cases of Red Bull, and enough YouTube tutorials to qualify for a DIY doctorate. The Flawatch wasn't just a boat. It was a floating 2-finger salute to HOA tyranny. Fully solar, compost-ready, and squirrel-resistant. I even welded the anchor myself using leftover gym equipment and spite. But the moment it touched the water, the HOA showed up like I'd summoned demons with a kayak. And leading the exorcism? Priscilla Hartley, queen of the laminated bylaws, riding in on a golf cart like a tank made of denial and expired sunscreen. Her energy was somewhere between Broadway villain and airport security with a grudge. "This is a restricted water body under Community Regulation 47B, she hollered so hard a heron took off mid-nap. I smiled. "Ma'am, I think your bylaws stopped at the shoreline." My subscribers? Losing their minds in the chat. Did she just say restricted buoyancy? Someone give her a floaty and a timeout. One viewer donated $20 just to type "Sink the Karen." That's when Priscilla whipped out her phone like it was a holy artifact and screamed, "I'm calling the environmental authorities. This is domestic water sabotage." Meanwhile, I quietly pressed. My live stream had 4,000 viewers in under 3 minutes. Turns out people love watching HOA chaos when it's not happening to them. I introduced Barkley, my Labrador-turned-Marina Menger, and pointed to the giant wooden sign I'd carved into the bow, "Private Property, Barkley's Lake. No Karens beyond this point." The audience lost it. But here's the thing. While Priscilla ranted about fish trauma and aquatic terrorism, I was already setting a plan in motion. A plan that had been simmering longer than HOA spaghetti policies. 20 years ago, I bought this lake from a man who'd been sued by the HOA for planting native grass. That's how deep their pettiness runs. And that man gave me a folder labeled, "In case they come for you too." I hadn't opened it in years, until now. When someone tells you to sink your dream, make sure it floats better than their reputation. Priscilla threw violations. I threw a party. But in next part, she tries to evict me with a paddleboard posse and a pie chart. You're not ready. You ever seen a $1,000 0-cents fine for unauthorized fish enthusiasm? I have. Line item 6. It started with a thump on my dock, one of those thick envelopes you could mistake for a college rejection letter or a manifesto. Turns out it was both. 22 pages, printed single-sided on legal-size paper, each one more ridiculous than the last. The cover sheet read, "Immediate action required, aquatic violation dossier," which sounds like something you'd get from the Navy, not a woman who color codes her lawn chairs. Violation 1. Floating contempt violation. 2. Visual disruption from non-sanctioned angles. Violation 6. Unauthorized fish enthusiasm. I wish I were kidding. That one had a footnote about emotional disturbance to koi. I don't even own koi. We've got catfish and one aggressive snapping turtle named Elvis who doesn't take kindly to citations either. By the time I got to page 14, I'd racked up $3,750 0 in daily fines. I laughed so hard my neighbor thought I was having a medical event. The chat on my live stream was lighting up like a bonfire. $500, 0 cents for glare. Does she charge the sun, too? One guy offered to Venmo me $1 for each page I roasted on camera. I taped one to Barkley's head and declared him chief of aquatic nonsense. But then, bam, a page that wasn't supposed to be there. Glossy, printed different, and very much not redacted. Title, Hartley Shoreline Expansion Phase 2 Projection. My lake, plus 5 acres. Marked as Future HOA Controlled Recreational Development, with a sketch of, get this, a members-only cabana bar and wellness dock. I checked the metadata. It was dated 2 months ago, before I even launched the flatch. So while she was acting like my boat was sinking the neighborhood's morality, she was plotting to monetize my lake right down to the minnows. That violation packet wasn't enforcement, it was cover. She wanted to paper trail me into selling cheap so she could flip it to developers, and get this. Stuffed inside the packet was a settlement offer for $300,000, 0 cents. About a third of what the land and water were worth combined. Let's just say she tried to play Monopoly. I showed up with the actual deed, a public live stream, and a history of not folding to fools. When someone buries you in paperwork, grab a shovel. Then use it to build a platform. Priscilla sent me a lake eviction notice, but slipped in her secret shoreline scam. Next episode, I flip the file and expose her whole plan in front of 10,000 livestream viewers and a duck named Gary. You won't believe where the receipts show up next. Priscilla said I was unfit for lake life, so I found her fitness plan, and it included stealing mine. It all started when I noticed a typo in one of the violations. Not a typo like your instead of your, I mean a real Freudian slip. Page 14, line 3. Upon full shoreline conversion, the subject's property will serve as Phase 2 of Hartley Holdings. Excuse me? Hartley Holdings? That's Priscilla's last name. Not a developer's, not a corporate partner. Her. I laughed so hard I almost fell off the float. While she was accusing me of reckless nautical aesthetics, she was secretly trying to rezone my lake into her personal lakefront empire. Bold, illegal, also deeply stupid, because she accidentally mailed me the smoking gun. The HOA packet was so thick it could have doubled as insulation. But this one page? This one was printed on a different kind of paper, slick, glossy, and without redaction. It didn't belong, and it was about to become my new favorite fishing bait. I did what any responsible lake-dwelling citizen would do. I called my subscribers. Not individually, obviously. I went live. The stream title, Hartley Shoreline Scam Caught in 4K. My chat exploded like Priscilla's blood pressure on Earth Day. You're telling me she mailed you her own fraud? One viewer wrote. Another typed, yo, someone start the countdown to her court date. I pinned a comment that said, plot twist, HOA stands for Hartley's Offshore Assets. But here's where it got real. While the HOA was prepping to fine me $300, 0 cents for algae proximity, I was filing a public records request at the county office. And wouldn't you know, it wasn't just my lake in her sights. There were 3 other properties tagged for aesthetic removal under her expansion plan. The best part? She listed herself as the project's community liaison with a salary, paid out of, you guessed it, HOA dues. Her board was literally funding her retirement yacht, and I was about to sink it with one click. I scanned everything, saved backups in 3 cloud accounts, and emailed a copy to my lawyer labeled Operation Mirrorball. Why Mirrorball? Because Priscilla was about to see herself, reflected in every shard of her own nonsense. I even had Barkley pose next to the documents with sunglasses and a sign that said, due diligence, baby. When someone throws shade, make sure they're standing under a spotlight and point it right back at their face. Turns out Priscilla's empire had more cracks than her foundation coverage. Up next, I roll out the one thing HOA Karens fear most: public opinion with a paper trail. You're gonna want popcorn. You haven't lived until someone named Tommy shows up, uninvited, wearing camo Crocs and a GoPro. I should have known Priscilla had a wild card. Or in this case, a whole deck of dysfunctional DNA. The voicemail came in just after midnight. Unlisted number. Raspy voice. Yo, this Tommy, pond boy, huh? We're coming to clean up that project permanently. He said it like he was auditioning for a villain role in a discount action movie. I replayed it 5 times. Each time, the camo Crocs in my mind got more aggressive. Tommy Hartley, the HOA's unofficial contractor, a.k.a. Priscilla's son. Fresh out of nowhere with a tool belt and an ego problem. Rumor was he failed out of plumbing school but passed Threatening Gestures 101 with honors. My subscribers, bless them, instantly pulled up his entire digital footprint. Highlights included 2 suspended LLCs, one cease and desist from a wildlife preserve, and a cameo in a viral video titled "Florida Man Fights Squirrel with Leaf Blower." I didn't panic. I upgraded my security system. 4 motion cams, bark-activated alerts, and a discreet little bear trap I affectionately named Tommy Catcher. Not to injure, just to educate. 2 nights later, education commenced. At 2:14 a.m., the cameras caught movement near the east fence line. Grainy footage showed Tommy in full covert ops mode. Black hoodie, bolt cutters, headlamp strapped over a flat-brimmed hat that said Alpha Beaver. He crept like he was breaking into Fort Knox. But he missed one crucial detail, the bright yellow sign that read, "Smile, you're trespassing" on 4K. Right as he tried to snip the fence lock, there was a snap, a yelp, and a dramatic plop into the shallow ditch beside my dock. Not only did he trip the bear trap, non-lethal, padded for legal reasons, he also face-planted into Barclay's kiddie pool. The cameras recorded it all. The viewers, oh, they feasted. That clip got more likes than my houseboat launch. Naturally, I filed a report. Sheriff chuckled, shook his head, and asked for a copy of the footage for training purposes. But the real prize wasn't Tommy's muddy sneakers. It was the paper in his back pocket, a half-soaked printout labeled Phase 3 Budget Shoreline Redevelopment Fund, and guess whose name was on the bank transfers? A company I hadn't heard in years. Until now, if someone shows up with bolt cutters and bad intentions, make sure your Wi-Fi is strong and your legal counsel is stronger. One trespasser down, but next, we crack open that budget trail and it leads straight to someone who knows exactly how to sink a shady HOA. You won't believe which fishing buddy's name shows up on the money line. Buckle up for next part. My buddy Frank once hid a property clause in a bait bucket. HOA never saw it coming. Frank Ledbetter wasn't just a fisherman. He was a chess-playing, paperwork-hoarding, sawdust-scented wizard of rural real estate. Back in the day, he ran the Cedar Brush Marina before Priscilla's little HOA empire acquired it through what he called legalized pickpocketing. He'd tell stories over catfish and cornbread about how he sold 'em the dock, but not the damn nailheads. I always thought he was speaking in metaphor. Turns out, Frank was speaking in litigation. When I sent him the scanned copy from Tommy's pocket, a faded Phase 3 budget showing funds redirected from marina operating expense to shoreline redevelopment reserve, Frank responded faster than a raccoon at a barbecue. He called me. No hello, just, "Check the bait bucket in the storage shed, left side, under the fillet knife." Like any rational person, I drove there at midnight, wearing Crocs and a headlamp. There it was, a weather-stained tackle box with duct tape labeled "Do not open till the HOA gets greedy." Inside, a notarized document dated 2001 titled Cedar Brush Marina Contingency Clause. Frank had inserted a buyback condition into the original contract when he sold the marina to the Cedar Brush HOA. If at any point the HOA transferred, leased, or repurposed any part of the marina land for non-marina activities, say, for instance, turning it into Hartley Shores, then Frank, or his designated successor, had the right to repurchase the entire marina for $142,000 0 cents. Current appraisal, $1,300,000 0 cents. And guess who was Frank's designated successor? A little line at the bottom, in his handwriting, "If I'm gone fishin', this falls to Noah Ryland." He earned it. I had to sit down on an overturned bucket just to process it. Frank had built a legal time bomb and stuffed it under the dock for 22 years. Meanwhile, Priscilla and her HOA board were planning a luxury redevelopment based on land they technically didn't own anymore. The irony was so thick, I could have filleted it. I called Frank. "Buddy," he said, "you're about to own a marina, and if you play your cards right, Priscilla's going to be the one cleaning fish guts off the dock by the end of the week. When someone sells the land beneath your ego, double-check they didn't leave behind a back door to justice. The trap's baited, and the dock's about to flip. In next part, I file the buyback clause live during Priscilla's own HOA sting operation. Spoiler, someone's hair extensions nearly catch fire. She called the cops. I called the county clerk. Only one of us left owning a marina. Priscilla Hartley's environmental tribunal had all the subtlety of a goat rodeo hosted by a tax auditor. She rolled in with 2 lawyers, 3 folding tables, a man holding a fake hazmat meter, and a boom mic. Not for audio, just for intimidation. "This is a violation of aquatic protocol," she barked, pointing at my floating dock like it had declared war. The HOA members nodded solemnly, as if I dumped motor oil into the ecosystem instead of launching a houseboat with a composting toilet. But I wasn't there for her drama. I was there for the countdown. The marina buyback plan was loaded, signed, and in the cloud. My phone sat in my shirt pocket, streaming the entire thing live to 47,000 viewers. Frank was standing by with his notary in Florida. Ashley was on a burner laptop in the back of my truck, connected to the county clerk system like we were launching a legal rocket. 7 minutes. That's how long it would take to change ownership, change the balance of power, and make Priscilla's power trip feel like a theme park that lost funding. Right as she accused me of endangering protected algae, I saw it. Marcus's text, transfer sent. That was minute 1. Minute 2, escrow confirmed. Minute 3, Frank signed from Florida. By minute 4, the digital deed was filed with the county. Minute 5, I walked calmly down to the dock. Priscilla was still yelling, spit flying like she was giving a sermon to the snails. Minute 6, the sheriff arrived and Priscilla lit up like a Christmas Karen. "Arrest him! He is polluting our waters and undermining community morale," she shrieked, waving laminated citations like she was blessing the area with rage. That's when I stepped forward, held up the receipt on my phone, and said the line I'd been rehearsing for 3 weeks. "Ma'am, as of 3 minutes ago, you're trespassing." You could hear the HOA's collective brain buffering. The sheriff blinked twice, checked my paperwork, then turned to Priscilla and said, "Ma'am, please step back from the property. He owns it now." The livestream chat exploded. One guy typed, "She just got reverse Uno'd into the lake." Priscilla's jaw dropped so hard it could have cracked the dock. She sputtered something about legal fraud and marina mutiny, but it didn't matter. Her little tribunal had become a live-streamed HOA funeral with snacks and emojis. If you want peace, prepare paperwork. And if someone comes at you with fake bylaws, respond with real-time escrow. She got served, then swerved. But hold tight, because Priscilla takes me to court and shows up with a broom to a briefcase fight. Priscilla tried to defend herself in court with a slideshow and a scented candle. Neither worked. The trial began like a daytime soap, if the soap had been dipped in espresso and sprinkled with HOA delusion. Priscilla Hartley strutted into the courtroom like she was entering a yacht gala. She wore a pantsuit so aggressively mauve it probably had its own zip code. Her defense team, or what was left of them, had the energy of paralegals forced into a group project. She opened with a slideshow titled Restoring Order, the Cedar Brush Standard, featuring pictures of lawns, ducks, and one mysterious pie chart that simply read, "Respect at 92%. The live stream counter cracked 1.8 million viewers before lunch. The judge, who looked like she'd seen too many of these HOA circus cases, already had her gavel gripped like a weapon. Jenny, the quiet HOA accountant turned digital whistleblower, took the stand like a silent wrecking ball. She calmly read off timestamps, financial transfers, emails where Priscilla literally typed, "Let's bury this payment under fish stocking fees," and my personal favorite, a voice memo labeled Operation Fake Weed Control. Things unraveled fast. Priscilla objected to her own evidence. "That email is taken out of emotional context," she barked. When her lawyer whispered something, probably "please stop talking," she stood up and shouted, "I made the HOA what it is." The judge didn't flinch. The bailiff blinked, like he'd seen this episode before. And then, the moment of cinematic perfection, her own lawyer stood, removed his glasses like a man quitting a telenovela, and announced, "Your Honor, I can no longer represent this energetic client." The audience clapped. The judge frowned. Jenny smirked. It was over. The jury came back in 42 minutes. Guilty. 6 counts: embezzlement, fraud, racketeering, harassment, improper use of neighborhood funds, and 1 count of attempting to use HOA power as a personality cult. The HOA was officially dissolved. The live stream chat looked like Times Square on New Year's Eve. Memes, emojis, digital confetti. One guy donated $100, 0 cents just to type, "She gone." As the sentence came down, 5 years, restitution, community service, Priscilla stared into the camera like she was being eliminated from a reality show she created. "This is a conspiracy against landscaping excellence," she muttered as they took her out. And just like that, the HOA fell like a badly built pergola in a windstorm. A Karen may rise with rules, but she'll always fall under real law, especially when the receipts are color-coded. The HOA's gone, Priscilla's convicted, but guess who's cleaning the marina bathrooms now? She called me scum. Now she's literally cleaning scum, with a name tag that says Property Respect Liaison. If irony were a cologne, Priscilla showed up soaked in it. After a year of lawsuits, public meltdowns, and an embezzlement conviction that made HOA newsletters nationwide, she reappeared like a badly written sequel, applying for a janitorial position at the very marina she once tried to seize. "I've had a personal transformation," she claimed, blinking like she thought that counted as a resume. "I hired her. Part mercy, part security footage opportunity. $14 an hour, triple-bagged gloves, and a mop bucket labeled accountability. Her job? Clean every bathroom stall at the newly renamed Freedom Dock Marina. Her shift? Doubled during karaoke nights. Her uniform? Custom polo with former management embroidered in Comic Sans. On grand reopening weekend, the whole place buzzed like a 4th of July grill. Food trucks, live music, paddleboard races. I went live on my channel, giving my 3 million subscribers a tour. "This used to be HOA Ground Zero," I said, panning to the luxury dock. "Now it's where families kayak, eat funnel cake, and witness poetic justice in aisle 5 of the men's room." That's when it happened, Priscilla. Headset mic still on from her Radio for Spills duties, got caught muttering while scrubbing tile. "This isn't over, I know the codes." The chat went nuclear. One viewer donated just to type, "HOA, hygiene of aggression." Another shouted, "Put her on a loyalty mop program." Paid it off like a joke, but I didn't miss the way she glanced at the camera. The look wasn't regret, it was reconnaissance. Like a chess player reviewing a loss and mentally flipping the board. But the truth? That moment was better than any courtroom victory. There she was, kneeling on a tile floor she once claimed lowered property values, wiping up her own legacy. And me? I was eating churros on a solar-powered houseboat named Redemption. Mercy without memory is just denial. Let them mop, but never unplug the cameras. You know, standing here today, on the dock that used to be HOA territory, watching kids eat ice cream where bylaws once ruled like dictators, I can't help but feel something deeper than just revenge. This story wasn't about a houseboat, or even the marina. It was about standing your ground when someone in power tells you to sit down. About knowing the rules so well you can beat the rule makers at their own game. About remembering that paperwork and patience are sharper than pitchforks. They'd tried to drown me in fines, footage, and fear, but all it did was teach me how to swim harder and live stream the whole thing. I didn't just win a battle, we exposed a system. We turned the HOA's crown jewel into a community hub. And yeah, we got the full circle moment. Our ex-Karen president wiping down the same toilet she once deemed unfit for her HOA constituents. But here's the real victory. We proved you don't need to scream to win. You just need the truth, a camera, and a Wi-Fi signal strong enough to reach the people who've been through it too. So, if you're out there right now dealing with power-drunk HOA tyrants, overreaching code enforcers, or neighbors who act like land barons in a cul-de-sac, take this story with you. Let it be your blueprint, your reminder that you are not powerless. You are not alone, and sometimes the loudest mic drop Is paperwork filed on time? Now do me a favor. If this story hit you somewhere between laughter and fire-in-the-gut inspiration, drop a comment below. Share your HOA horror story, your neighborhood nonsense, or just tell me where you're watching from. Smash that like button if you believe in poetic justice, and hit subscribe so you never miss what happens when Karens pick the wrong person to mess with. Because this isn't just storytelling. It's HOA self-defense class with punchlines. And trust me, the next story, it'll make this one look like a pool noodle fight at a retirement barbecue. Stay free, stay bold, and keep your documents dry. See y'all in the next round.